Hey, physics friends, and welcome to physics. My name is Mr. Hare, and I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you, number one, to introduce myself, number two, to introduce physics to you, and number three, introduce what I think, in the 20 years I've been doing this, what I think is the best way to go about having success in physics. So, let's get started. Number one, I think pictures are worth 1,000 words, so I'll just throw you over here, kind of to my Instagram, so you kind of get an idea of who Mr. Hare is. Number one, my family. This is actually a picture of my extended family. This is my wife, Amanda, and we have 3 daughters, Maya, and then Sadie, and then Isla over here. And this is my brother, Chris. Chris is an electrician in Madison, and his wife Lindsay, and they have a son, and then my mom and dad, and we hail from Cuba City. I actually grew up in Cuba City, just down the road. I'm not much different than many of you. I love to golf. Here is our friend Mr. Sponsler and I golfing. I like to do woodworking. This is like a caddy that I built. In general, I really like to make things. This is, let's see here. There's some other fun stuff here. This is a lake map that I made for my friends who invite us up to their cottage every year. I love to fish with my family. We go to Hayward once a year to do that. This is a fun little art project that I did during the COVID while we were sequestered. I've always loved this artist named Simply Sarah Art. Just shout out to her if you check her out on YouTube sometime. She does a lot of stencil art, so I've always wanted to do this, so I sat down and I taped together 6 pieces of construction paper and used a projector to trace and then an X-Acto knife to cut out a scene from my favorite movie of all time, The Big Lebowski. I would encourage you all to watch it. A lot of swearing, but it's absolutely my favorite movie by a factor of 2. So this is just me throwing down all of these stencils to create this thing right here. Like I said before, I went to Cuba City. Kind of just throw my resume at you here. I have my Master's of Education from UW-Oshkosh. I got that in 2015. I went to college at UW-Platteville, just up the road. Some of the other things that I've been blessed with in my career, I was a Space Educator Award in 2021, Herb Cole Teacher Fellow winner, Outstanding Alumni, Wisconsin Society of Teachers Excellence in Education Award, places that I've taught. Before I was teaching in Platteville, I taught at East Troy High School, which is near Milwaukee, for approximately 9 years. I taught at a private school on Oahu, and then I also taught at a public school on Oahu. I taught 8th grade math. So I kind of math and physics are kind of my bag. Introduction to physics. What we're going to talk about this year in physics, it's kind of listed over here. We're going to spend the first few weeks doing what I call basic training, significant figures, how to measure accuracy versus precision, using your Chromebook to graph data and get extrapolate and interpolate set lines of best fit to our data. All of first semester is going to be talking about particles. So particles can move in a straight line and they can go at a constant speed or they can accelerate. What if you push on them with a force? And then we'll go into 2 dimensions. So what if they move up and down and left and right? So how does force affect your motion and how does force affect your momentum? So all of this stuff here is we're going to talk about in the first semester. And then we're going to switch gears, and physics is kind of divided right now in that way, where there's particles and there's waves. So second semester, we're going to talk a lot about waves. Waves are waves. There's sound. Sound is a wave. Light is a wave. Reflection, refraction, lenses, and mirrors. And then we're going to talk about electricity. So second semester, we'll have these things along with thermodynamics. So first semester is a lot of particles, and second semester is a lot of waves. And they're similar, but really just kind of entirely different. The things that you're going to need this year for physics: a 3-ring binder. You're going to be getting a lot of packets and notes. It's easiest if you can have a nice place to put those things. And you need a scientific calculator. Now, a scientific calculator is just a calculator that has sine, cosine, and tangent. This is a graphing calculator, ones with a big screen. You don't need ones with the big screen. If you have one, it works fine. Those are a graphing calculator. But you do need something that has sine, cosine, and tangent. And you'll need headphones because you're going to be watching videos like you're watching them right now. And it's very helpful if you just have headphones. I used to have people bring protractors and compass. If you want them, we won't need them until second semester. If you want your own, you're welcome to, but I've got ones that I can give to you. But please don't worry about that. I had actually crossed that off. Some of the bigger ideas, I round. So 89.5 is equal to a 90. Anything 0.5, I'll round it to the nearest percent. Not a big deal. There's no extra credit. Your tests and quizzes are 60%, 30%, and then online videos like this one are worth 10% of your grade. Your semester exam is 10%, and the rest of it is quarter 1 and quarter 2. Absences and late work, we'll probably take a quiz, I would say every day, if not every other day. And when I say quiz, I just mean here's one question for you to try as you exit. Kind of like some people will refer to them as an exit ticket. I just want to see if you're understanding what the main idea was for that day. So if you miss one of those, you don't have to make it up. I'll leave it blank in the gradebook until we take the test, and then I'll just fill in whatever you get for the test. And I'll do that exact same thing. Like, let's say you get a 60% on a quiz. If you get an 80 or 90, let's say you get a 90% on the test, I'll go back and replace that 60 with a 90 when we get back there. So your test is going to wipe out any quizzes that are worse than that. If you get 100%, I'm not going to round it down. I'll leave it as it is. The big one, prearranged absences. Because tests are worth so much, I really need you to take your test before you leave. Just because you have a track meet doesn't mean that you have an extra day to get ready for a physics test. I don't think that that's fair. And people who do their job regularly, they don't think that that's fair either. So if you've got a sports competition, F-Troop gig, field trip, FFA, student council, band, vacation, outdoor ed, prearranged doctor's appointments, college visits, anything that you know of beforehand and we have a test, I need you to communicate with me and figure out a time where you can take that before you go. Now, on the other hand, there are things that we have no control over, like I'm sick. Something crazy happened in my family. I get that. Just shoot me an email and we will figure that out and have you take that whenever you can. But if there's something that you know is happening and you miss a test, it's a 10% reduction in score. So for tomorrow, I'd like you to print your name, sign it, have your parents sign it. I've signed it, and Mr. Craze has also signed it. Just so whenever, this is the biggest issue that people get stung by this. And if you happen to get stung by this, I need you to say, you're right, I knew about that, I'll do better next time, I'll take my 10%, not a big deal. Some people make it a really big deal, and it's embarrassing when I take this sheet out and show it back to you where it's like bolded and everything. So really make an effort to do that. And if you do get stung, it's okay. Own up to it. Say you're sorry. We're all going to move on. It's going to be okay. I promise. I don't know how you're feeling about physics. Maybe you're nervous. Maybe you're excited. I don't know why you're taking physics. Maybe your friends are doing it. Maybe you're interested in the subject. I want to just show you some data. These are the first semester grades for like the past 4 years. 2020 and 2021 were a little bit different because of COVID kind of getting in the way, but this is typically what it looks like. This is how many A's that I had, how many B's, how many C's, D's, and F's. The year before it, almost identical. The year before that, a little different for whatever reason. And then 4 years before that looks very similar. I promise you'll get through it. And I'm here to help. I'm here to give you whatever you need. And speaking of, here's my pro tips. what do I think are the best ways to get through this as we do this? A lot of physics is going to be, I employ what's called a flipped classroom. So like right now, you're watching me lecture. Like for many, many years, 10 years, I would give this lecture. I would talk to people like this in class, and then I would send them with a worksheet home to do homework. And I'm going to flip that around. And I like it for a couple of reasons. Number one, how often have you gone home to do homework and you get to a problem and you don't know how to do it? What do? You're kind of stuck, right? In flipping that, we're going to do all of our homework in class. Like we're going to spend class time doing homework, and you're going to be able to sit next to people. And so if you don't know how to do something, you can just ask your friends. I want you to collaborate on everything that's a homework. And I'm going to be cruising around. So if your friends don't know how to do it, you raise your hand, and Mr. Heer, the professional, can help you out. Now, when you're at home watching the lecture, you might not understand it, and that's okay. The only thing that's important when you're watching that lecture is to just write down the definition. Write down how I do a problem. I'm going to do some example problems. Just write them down, and if you don't get it, that's okay. Know that when we come to class the next day, we're going to talk about those. So here's kind of my pro tips as we go through this year, how to get through this successfully. Number one, stay engaged. And here's what I mean by that. I don't know if you're on your phone right now. Like you're watching this video, you're engaged in multiple things. Maybe you have this video just sitting on your desk running while you're talking to your friends in study hall. It's really important that when you're here in class, put your phone away. When you're watching a video, put your phone away. I can't say it enough. I need you to focus for those 20 minutes. When you're in class, those 45 minutes, like set it aside. There'll be times where it's a good time to check your phone. Know when is a good time and know when is not a good time. Stay engaged in what you're doing. Number two, speak your truth. That means we're going to be doing a lot of discussion. I want you to be able to say what's on your mind. When someone has a question, say it. Like if I ask a question up on the board to the class, like, what do you think the answer is? Don't think that what you is in your brain is not worth it. You totally are. You belong here, and your views matter. And people can learn from those. You're not the only one that will have these ideas, but you may be the only one that's brave enough to give voice to them. Number three, expect and be okay with not getting the answer immediately. I kind of already touched on that before, where you're maybe watching a video and you don't understand. Maybe make a note to yourself to ask Mr. Heer or a friend. Be okay not having closure all of the time. Like this is especially at the beginning of every chapter. A new chapter brings its new nuances and ideas and essential understandings. And at the beginning of every chapter, you're going to feel lost. And I need you to be okay. Like, you know what? Mr. Heer's he's going to replace anything that I do. And if I do better, that will get replaced. I promise. So just have heart, have hope, and be okay not knowing the answer right away. Confidentiality, no guilt, shame, or judgment. We're going to have a lot of discussions. And I want it to be a safe space for you to be able to say, like, well, I think I saw something like this. And listen to those people. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Be listening to others and be open to hear them sharing, because the more that we share, the more that this stuff makes sense to you. You know, I've been doing it for 20 years, but to listen to other people who are just now understanding it is super valuable. And it's really important that you're able to say things without the fear of someone ridiculing you or making fun. When you have ideas, I want you to disagree with the person. Disagree with the idea and not the person. It's okay to say to somebody, I hear what you're saying, but, and I will frequently do this. Like if you ask me a question, I can answer a question with a question. So continue to question that person. Well, okay, so if what you're saying is true, what would it mean for this? It's okay to tell someone, I disagree with you. And be okay being disagreed with. Like, it is absolutely okay for you to say, Mr. Heer, I don't know if I believe you. Yes, because I'll tell you, in science, None of us really knows what's going on. And I think the closer you get to the edge of human understanding, you really have a true sense of we really don't know what we're doing here. So it's okay to be disagreed with and to disagree with others respectfully. Expect to be stretched and stay curious. Physics is challenging. It is not malicious. It is not out to get you. But that's not to say that it's not complex. And at its core, there's very fundamental ideas that once these fundamental ideas are there, it's a framework for how all the rest of this works. But if there's something wrong with your frame, it's really hard for me. The toughest part for me is to rewire you to understand the truth. And so expect to have your ideas about how the universe actually works challenged and be open to that. And then lastly, listen to learn and question to understand. This is the motto of the School of Education at UW-Platteville. Be a listener. Listen to what others around you are saying. Listen to Mr. Heer. The hardest part, there are people who don't make a lot of growth. And maybe tomorrow when you get back your results from that general knowledge test that you took, you're going to find, I'm not going to tell you your score, but you'll get the class's average and just know that nobody in here knows what's going on. And that's okay. Like, you're in the best class. Like, this is why you're here. You're going to make so much growth. Be a person of the growth mindset. Like, for a long time, I told myself, my friends are, maybe you've heard this, I'm not good at math. I don't know if you remember, like, when you look through my resume, I was not good at math, but I majored in that stuff. Like, I got to be so good that I'm like, if I only take 2 more classes, I can have a major in that. And you can be that way with physics too. Persevere, effort, find inspiration from other people. Embrace the challenge that is this class. Accept criticism, not negative criticism, but criticism to help you get better. Desire to learn and build your abilities. I want this to be you. I want you to find success, and I want you to get through this class and say to yourself, I did something awesome, and I can do anything, because you can. There are other people give up too easy. They see like a dog-eat-dog world that if this person's better than me, that's bad. No, they're thinking win-lose. It can be win-win. It's okay to look silly. Fail early, fail often. We're going to have a great time together. I promise you. I don't know where you're sitting right now. Maybe you're nervous. You're going to do great. And I'm telling you, in 5 years' time, no matter what grade you get in here, you're going to look back and say, that was fun. So I'm looking forward to this year. Thanks for being here. Keep your head up and keep your stick on the ice.